So, how'd you do on this question? It's a tough one. If you've not taken a neuroscience class or you haven't read up on how memories form and the theory of learning, but what I imagine you tried to do in this question was use your judgment, use your best guess, try to figure out, which of those things made sense in order. So you can look at the answers up above here and see if you were right. And let me talk a little bit about how memories form, what they are, how they're related to learning. A memory is a set of encoded neural connections that reconstruct past experiences, in part by firing the neurons that were originally involved in the experience. So that's really what's happening when you remember something is you are firing the same neurons that were created or strengthened when that initial memory was formed. And here's a little graphic of a neuron firing, but let's take a look at what one actually looks like while it's growing. Pretty neat, huh? So this idea of active learning is not just a metaphor. I mean, it is a literal explanation of what's happening in a student's brain or in our brains when we learn. Active learning really means that learning is an active process. There's nothing passive about learning. It is literally the creation of neurons. Neurons are created, and the creation of connections between neurons. And that is really what learning is. It's the connection of neurons. It is the ability to recall memories when we need them. I don't know, for me as a teacher, my goal is that students learn something, and that doesn't mean that they can pass an exam or that even that they do well in the class that comes after the one I'm teaching. It means that they actually create a complex web of neural connections and memories that allows them to recall that information and that knowledge in a context outside of the classroom, right? That they can actually use it in their real lives. I guess I'm going to quote Dr. Terry Doyle here. It's our job as educators to understand as much as we can about the science of learning so we can tool our teaching techniques to best help students learn. I guess it's something like medical science. I mean, again, Dr. Terry Doyle even calls it malpractice. If we ignore what the research says actually helps students learn, we're committing malpractice. I don't know if I want to go quite that far. I don't think students are going to sue us for malpractice. But I do think we expect our doctors to keep up with the current state of physiology and to actually understand what sorts of medical interventions might actually help treat us or cure us or lead us to be well people. 50 years ago, doctors didn't know as much about biology. They tried hard, but they didn't know as much. And they might have said something like, well, for emphysema, why don't you try smoking cigarettes? They weren't evil. They were just wrong about, some facts of biology. Our professors lectured. Maybe we learned something from that. I think we did. But I don't think we should assume that pedagogical practices that were common in the past are necessarily attuned to what we know now about the science of learning. That's enough of me soapboxing. Let me give you a little bit more about how memories form. So what actually happens? Sensory information is out there, right? And if we don't pay attention to it, memories are not formed. There's all kinds of stuff bombarding us 24 hours a day, maybe not while we're asleep, but we're dreaming. I don't know, something like 99% of everything we experience is never formed as a memory, either because we're not paying attention to it or because our brains screen it out as being irrelevant. But memories happen when we pay attention to sensory input, and then what do? We have the ability with our working memory, or sometimes called short-term memory, to juggle a certain amount of items, right? And I imagine it as juggling, right? If you're really good, you can juggle 7 or 6 or 5 or even up to 9 things. But it takes a lot of concentration, right? It's like trying to remember the phone number to order that thing that you saw on late night TV while you're getting your cell phone out. And what do? You have to recite it. You have to actively keep it in your short-term memory because otherwise it evaporates. That's what short-term memory is. How do you actually create a memory, right, with your neural connections? You rehearse. You practice, you rehearse, you practice recalling that memory, and if you do some elaborate rehearsal, that memory will become committed to your long-term memory. And that's it. I'm 5 minutes in. I'm going to close this out.